You can probably tell by the deep breath in and the sigh that this is a completely different picture that I'm going to paint compared to my childhood. It sounds really, really corny when I say it, but I honestly think art saved me. It's taken me a while to be at peace with the version of myself that I was when I was a teenager or in my teenage years. It's funny because I think I reflect on it and I probably have really held on to the negative a lot more than what the positive was, and naturally as humans we tend to do that. But I did receive a message from my sports teacher, because I was sport captain, and he said the other day, and shout out to Mr. Crotty, he's like, "You are a great student." And I think it was so nice to hear that, because I probably painted myself in a different light, because we always are our own harshest critics. But 13 to 20-year-old, well, let's go 13 to 18. I was smoking a lot of weed. I was drinking, underage drinking. I was stealing a lot. I was hanging around with the wrong people, going to underage parties, getting into fights, watching lots of fights, watching people get stabbed, and just really chasing the things that someone at that age shouldn't be seeing, nor should be, chasing. So I think it has become clearer now that being in an academic school, I think I wasn't nurturing that creative side. And obviously, we see it in kids and teens, or we see it in children and teens nowadays. If they are not engaged and not interested in what they're doing, they tend to rebel or resort to risk-taking behaviour and things like that. So I don't believe I was creating enough. I don't believe I was expressing myself enough in those periods. I was lost. I was battling mentally. There was, suicidal periods. And it's so much clearer now looking back that when I tapped back into the art, things became, less, how would you say it? Less destructive. Things became less destructive and the pathway became a lot cleaner. So I absolutely would not change anything. I empathise with anyone that I was maybe ever a bad human to, because there was also periods in my 20s where I don't feel like I was acting in character. But I think these are all really, really necessary things for you to go through as you're, navigating identity, who you are, who you want to be. Your teenage years, especially as a girl, are so hard. So in short, my mum got cancer, and I think that was a big wake-up call, because family, once again, was always the grounding and the core, and something that was always constant and core for me, and I always went back to. So I think mum getting sick and me starting to paint again. There was a friend who is an actor and doing really well in America, shout out to John Kim. He said, "Why haven't you painted?" And basically got me to sit down and start painting again. And I think that was also a huge turning point in my life. So yeah, it sounds really, really corny when I say it, but I honestly think art saved me, and I've only realized that now, because it is my why, and I always revert to that when I am maybe going through a bit of a lull or a period of where I'm battling. It's always my why. So I think it truly did that, and family, art and family definitely did. So at this point in my life, I really do think art was more of an outlet. It wasn't so much as a career option or path that I'd considered at this stage. And I only really identify that it was an outlet now upon reflection. But I guess I'm sharing that because I think a lot of people probably don't realise just how much of an outlet it is, and they let it go, and then they don't have that thing that can ground them and that is their outlet. So this is, I guess, a pivotal thing to highlight, because there was always the question of when I did realise that it could potentially be a career pathway, do you turn your hobby or your outlet into a job? So that was something that I feared, and knowing what it had done for me at that point, and not knowing that you can find other outlets to like when you think it's like the only thing that you have that that's like your savior, it's really hard to sort of I guess visualize what it could look like in another light, which is now my business and my career. My first paid job, which technically wasn't a paid job, was a painting for my current boyfriend's friend's mum, and I just charged for the materials, and it was a triptych of a tree, and it was like grayscale, and yes, there was quite a few other like paid jobs that covered the materials around that period too, but I put a collection of them on Facebook, and then that triggered me getting some paid jobs where I was probably getting paid 5 cents an hour. Oh, they're shit house, but they're actually quite good for back then. I mean, some of them I'm like, that's not bad, but most of them are quite questionable. I often say I wish I could paint how I painted when I first started, when I knew nothing. There's something so freeing, and that's why I say to artists, like, if you're in that period of when you're first starting, embrace it, because the more you know, the more complex things become. Yeah. I think another part of these years that I haven't even touched on or paid attention to yet is sport, and how crucial learning a discipline was for me at that stage. I was fiercely dedicated to tennis, to running, fiercely dedicated to trying new things and pushing like myself out of my comfort zone. Like I played touch rugby. I'm 5'0", and I played mixed touch rugby, and it was the best thing ever. I was labelled at my tennis club. My nickname was Jack, because as like after Jack Russell, because they just hunt and chase everything down. So I think had I not had sport, I would have been a completely different person as well. I had some really good coaches and mentors and people that I guess kept me on a better path, even though I was dabbling in all the wrong things. I think that was also a really, really important part of my life during that time. Similarly, when I turned 19, I packed my bags and traveled for 6 months. And I think both sport and the discipline you learn through like traveling and sport honestly really developed a thick spine and helped me start diving into like my identity and who I really was as a person. Sport definitely ingrained habits and discipline that I still, I guess, embody every day now. When there was a period there that I actually genuinely wanted to be a professional tennis player, so the training was really, really difficult when you're going to school 5 days a week. I was working 2 jobs from 14 years old, and I was training as well. So sometimes I'd train before school, after school, on the weekends. I'd also coached tennis too. So I was in it for the long run. And I think the dedication, and I always say this whether it's art, sport, whatever it is, but if you're like fiercely dedicated to something, they're skills and traits that you can carry through in whatever you do. I would say that I've grown up in a very, I think if you live in Australia, we're quite privileged when it comes to safety and things like that. So 19-year-old girl, I hadn't travelled solo before, packed my bags, was heading to Europe. Back then, technology wasn't really advanced. So I had a SIM card where I'd text my mum every couple of days or once a week. But, you know, you didn't have all the social media accounts where everyone knows exactly what you're doing at all points in time. So I remember arriving in Athens and thinking, what do I do now? Like, actually, I'm on the other side of the world. What am I going to do? And someone got beat up by a baton, like a police officer beat someone up right in front of me. And I was like, what have I done? I don't have anyone with me. So anyways, basically I think what I'm trying to say is, I think traveling at such a young age, there's a big difference between going on a holiday and travel. And I've visited nearly 50 countries, and I did a lot of them in my late teens, early 20s. And one, I've realized obviously how privileged we are here. Two, I've realized how little value they place on lives overseas in other countries, and how unsafe it can be and how quickly your life can change. And I think just being in positions where I'm like, how did I not die on multiple occasions, as well as having the most incredible memories and experience of culture. And, you know, I think, yeah, you can't, unless you've traveled like vastly, I don't think you can actually put that into words. It's another level of difficult, another level of navigating logistics, and another level of thinking, what the fuck have I done? And why have I chosen to do this? Obviously, a lot of lessons from a female perspective of exactly situations that you shouldn't get yourself into. So many things that I absolutely would not change and would go through all over again, as messed up as it says, because the lessons that you learn from travel and things like that have really, again, I talk about that backbone and that resilience, have really shaped the person I am today and how I want to help other people moving forward with my life as well. I think the motivation for wanting to travel was honestly just curiosity, which is so heavily aligned with being a creative person. I think that's often what makes you create, because you're curious as to what will come out on the other side and what you can do if you follow through with that curiosity. And travel is now still one of the most important things for me, because it's the inspiration that I can't, like some other artists can sit here and wonder and create things in their minds, whereas I actually need to go out and source inspiration and learn from cultural experiences and from traveling and from interaction. Like human interaction is probably one of my greatest sources of inspiration. So yeah, definitely travel was driven by curiosity, and I guess my stubbornness to chase things that did test me and were difficult. And I feel like you, as a human, you often look for what you know will challenge you the most. So I think the rebellious and the ballsy and I guess the fierceness in my teenage years, the risk-taking behaviour, did carry through to my 18, 19, 20 and early 20 years of when I was traveling and sort of just figuring it out. And I think these, you know, the early 20s were the years where I really started to ask some deeper questions and started to figure out what my life might look like moving forward. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. It'll be another big chapter to navigate. And yeah, we hope you enjoyed this chapter, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.